I overdid it with my New Year's Eve prank, and he got so mad he left me. The text on my phone screen blurred as tears welled up in my eyes. 3 dots pulsed as Jake typed, then disappeared, then pulsed again. Finally, his message appeared. I need space. I'll get my things tomorrow while you're at work. I stared at those words until my screen went dark. How had a silly New Year's Eve prank spiraled so catastrophically out of control? 2 weeks earlier, I'd been sprawled on our couch scrolling through TikTok while Jake hunched over his laptop at the dining table. A video caught my attention, a woman wrapping her boyfriend's entire gaming setup in Christmas paper. His reaction was priceless. Initial shock, followed by good-natured laughter as he unwrapped his monitors and keyboard. "Hey Jake, look at this," I called, holding up my phone. He glanced over briefly, barely registering the video before returning to his screen. Funny," he muttered absently. His dismissal stung a little. Lately, Jake had been increasingly absorbed in work, pulling long hours for his architecture firm's big hospital project. Our relationship had fallen into a comfortable but predictable rhythm, the kind where you're physically together but emotionally drifting. "What do you want to do for New Year's?" I asked, setting my phone down. "I don't know, Ava. Whatever you want." His eyes never left his computer. "We could throw a party? Or go to Liam and Sarah's thing?" "Sure, sounds good." I sighed. This had become our standard exchange, me pushing for engagement, Jake agreeing without really listening. As I watched him working with the same intensity he used to direct at me during the early days of our relationship, an idea began forming. Maybe what we needed was something unexpected, a disruption to shake us out of this rut. The pranking video had planted a seed, but I wanted something more elaborate, something memorable that might reignite the playfulness we'd lost. Jake had always appreciated my sense of humor. It was one of the things he'd first fallen for. Surely a well-executed prank would remind him of that spark between us. The plan came together over the following days. Jake's prized possession was his restored 1969 Dodge Charger, which had belonged to his late father. He'd spent countless weekends restoring it, and while he rarely drove it in winter, he kept it parked in our garage, often disappearing for hours just to tinker with it. My prank would center around the car not damaging it, of course, but making him think something had happened to it. I enlisted my best friend Rachel to help, along with her boyfriend Ethan, who happened to be a mechanic. "Are you sure about this?" Rachel asked as we finalized the plan over coffee. "Jake is super protective of that car." "It'll be fine," I assured her. "It's just a harmless prank. Besides, Ethan will make sure nothing actually happens to it." "I don't know, Ava. Pranks involving things people really care about can backfire." I waved away her concern. "Jake knows my sense of humor, and anyway, it'll all be resolved quickly. I'm not going to let him suffer for long." Rachel didn't look convinced, but she agreed to help. The plan was set for New Year's Eve. Jake and I would attend Liam and Sarah's party until around 11:30 p.m., then head home to ring in the new year privately. Meanwhile, Rachel and Ethan would enact the prank at our house while we were out. New Year's Eve arrived with a fresh dusting of snow that made everything look magical. Jake seemed more relaxed than he had in weeks, the project finally winding down. We arrived at the party around 8 p.m., and I felt a flutter of excitement thinking about what lay ahead. "You look beautiful tonight," Jake whispered, his arm around my waist as we mingled with friends. It was the most attentive he'd been in months. Guilt pricked at me momentarily. Maybe we didn't need a dramatic prank to reconnect. Maybe this quiet evening together was enough. But it was too late to call it off. Rachel texted me at 10:45 p.m., "All set, Operation Car Crisis underway." At 11:20, I nudged Jake. "Should we head home? Beat the midnight traffic?" He nodded, bidding goodbye to our friends. As we walked to our car, he reached for my hand, interlacing our fingers. "This was nice," he said. "I'm sorry I've been so distracted lately. The project's finally wrapping up, and I want to focus more on us." My stomach clenched. This was not how I'd pictured the evening going. Jake was already making an effort without any prompting. But the wheels were in motion, and I told myself it would all be worth it when we could laugh about it later. The drive home was quiet but comfortable. Jake hummed along to the radio, occasionally squeezing my knee. I tried to calm my growing nerves by reminding myself that good relationships could withstand a little mischief. We pulled into our driveway at 11:45 p.m. Jake frowned as he killed the engine. "That's weird," he said. "The garage door is open." My heart raced as we got out of the car. This was it. "Probably just the sensor acting up again," I said, trying to sound casual. Jake walked ahead of me toward the garage, then stopped abruptly. "What the hell?" I peered around him. Rachel and Ethan had done their work well. The garage was in calculated disarray. The Charger's hood was up, parts were scattered on a tarp on the floor, and tools were spread around. A thick liquid that looked like oil, but was actually a non-staining theatrical prop, pooled beneath the car. Jake rushed forward, a strangled noise escaping his throat. "My car! What happened to my car?" I followed, trying to suppress the smile threatening to break through. "Oh my God, Jake, someone's been in our garage." He circled the vehicle, hands hovering over the dismantled parts, face contorted in shock and pain. I hadn't anticipated this level of distress, and for a moment I hesitated. But we'd come too far to stop now. "Wait," I said, pulling out my phone. "Let me call the police." Jake wasn't listening. He knelt beside the car, picking up what looked like the carburetor. This isn't right. Someone who knows cars did this. It's too methodical." I pretended to dial, watching him process the scene. This was where Rachel and Ethan were supposed to jump out from behind the storage shelves with party poppers and a Happy New Year banner. The prank would be revealed, we'd all laugh, and Jake and I would ring in the new year with a renewed sense of play in our relationship. But they didn't appear. Jake stood suddenly, turning to me with narrowed eyes. "You're not really calling anyone." What's going on, Ava?" The tone of his voice sent a chill through me. He'd moved from shock to suspicion with unnerving speed. Just then, my phone buzzed with a text. I glanced down to see Rachel's message. "Ethan got a call. Emergency at his sister's. Had to leave. So sorry. We'll be back as soon as we can." My heart sank. The big reveal was ruined. "Jake, okay, don't freak out," I began, putting my phone away. It's a prank." His expression didn't change. "A prank?" "Yes. Rachel and Ethan helped me set it up. Nothing's actually wrong with your car. Ethan made sure of that. All the parts are fine, and that's not real oil. We were gonna jump out and surprise you, but they had to leave for an emergency. They'll be back soon to help put everything back together." I waited for the relief, for the tension to drain from his face, for maybe even a reluctant smile. None came. "You did this," he said flatly. "You deliberately made me think something had happened to my dad's car." "It was just supposed to be funny," I explained, my voice smaller now, like those prank videos online. "I thought we needed something to shake things up, to remind us to have fun together." "Fun?" His voice rose. "You call this fun? Making me think vandals destroyed the one thing I have left of my father?" "No. Do you have any idea what this car means to me?" His hands were shaking now. "This isn't some gaming console or a new pair of shoes, Ava. This was the last project my dad and I worked on before he died. This is his legacy." Shame washed over me. Of course I knew that. I just hadn't thought through how the prank would feel from his perspective. I'd been so focused on the reveal, on the relief and laughter that would follow, that I'd glossed over the genuine distress I'd cause. "I'm so sorry, Jake. I didn't think—" "No, you didn't think." He cut me off. "You didn't think about how I'd feel. You just thought about what would make a good story, a good video to show your friends." "That's not fair," I protested. "I wasn't going to post this anywhere. I just wanted to do something unexpected, to break us out of this rut we've been in." "Rut?" He looked genuinely confused. "What rut? You've been so distant lately, always working, barely talking to me. I thought we needed something to remind us of the fun we used to have." Jake ran a hand through his hair, exasperation mixing with hurt on his face. "So your solution was to traumatize me? Great plan, Ava. Really thoughtful." "I didn't mean to traumatize you," I said, tears forming. "It was supposed to be a quick scare followed by relief. Rachel and Ethan were going to help me put everything back immediately." "But they're not here, are they?" He gestured to the dismantled car. "So now what? I'm supposed to just laugh it off while my car sits in pieces?" I pulled out my phone. "I'll call Ethan. He can walk me through putting it back together." "Don't bother," Jake said, pulling out his own phone. I'll call Marcus. He can help me fix this mess. Marcus was Jake's friend from college, another car enthusiast. As Jake stepped outside to make the call, I stood alone in the garage, the enormity of my mistake sinking in. The digital clock on the wall flipped to 12 a.m. Happy New Year. When Jake returned, his face was set in hard lines I'd never seen before. Marcus is coming over. You should go inside. Jake, please, let me help. Let me make this right. You've done enough, he said coldly. Just go. I retreated to the house, watching through the window as Jake methodically began organizing the parts Ethan had carefully arranged to look haphazard. 15 minutes later, Marcus arrived, and the two men worked in silence, their breath fogging in the cold garage. I sent Jake a text. I'm truly sorry. I never meant to hurt you. He read it, but didn't respond. Around 2 a.m., Marcus left. Jake came inside, his expression unreadable. Is the car okay? I asked timidly. It will be. Nothing was actually damaged, just disconnected. Jake, I'm so sorry. I completely misjudged how this would make you feel. He stood in the kitchen, keeping the island between us. That's the problem, Ava. You should have known. We've been together for 3 years. You know what that car means to me. I do know, I admitted. I thought the relief when you realized it was okay would outweigh the momentary panic. Well, it didn't. He looked at me like I was a stranger. And what hurts most is that you did this because you thought we were in a rut. If you were feeling disconnected, why not just talk to me about it? I tried, I exclaimed, but every time I tried to have a conversation, you were buried in work, barely listening. So this was what, punishment? No, it was an attempt to shake things up, to create a moment we'd laugh about later. Jake shook his head. I'm not laughing, Ava, and I don't think I will be anytime soon. He walked past me toward our bedroom. I followed, desperate to fix what I'd broken. Jake, please, it was a stupid mistake. I got carried away. But I love you, and I would never intentionally hurt you. He paused at the bedroom door. I need some time to think. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight. On New Year's? My voice cracked. Yes, on New Year's. The night you decided to use my father's memory as a punchline. The door closed between us, and I stood there, tears streaming down my face. How had my plan gone so catastrophically wrong? The next morning, Jake was gone before I woke up. A text informed me he'd be staying with Marcus for a few days. I need space to think about what happened and what it means for us. Rachel came over that afternoon, full of apologies and concern. I'm so sorry we had to bail. Is Jake okay? Are you okay? I recounted the disaster through tears. He's never been this angry with me before, Rach. I really messed up. He'll come around, she assured me, but I could see the doubt in her eyes. You just need to give him time to process. But as days turned into a week with only minimal communication from Jake, I began to fear that I'd damaged something irreparable. He responded to my texts with terse acknowledgments but declined my calls. Finally, after 8 days, he agreed to meet me at a cafe, neutral territory. He looked tired, with shadows under his eyes that matched my own. We ordered coffee and sat across from each other, an uncomfortable silence stretching between us. How have you been? I asked eventually. Managing, he replied. You? Miserable. I miss you, Jake. He nodded, fingers tapping restlessly on the table. I've been doing a lot of thinking this past week. My heart clenched. This was the prelude to a breakup, wasn't it? What happened on New Year's Eve? It made me realize some things, he continued. Not just about you, but about us, about how we communicate. I know I should have talked to you directly about feeling disconnected, I admitted. The prank was a terrible idea. Yes, it was, he agreed. But I've also been thinking about why you felt you needed to do something so dramatic to get my attention. I looked up, surprised by this shift. You were right about me being distant, he continued. I get tunnel vision with work, and I've been taking you for granted. That's on me. But Ava, what you did, it showed such a fundamental misunderstanding of my boundaries. It makes me wonder how well we really know each other. I do know you, Jake, I insisted. I just had a massive lapse in judgment. He sighed. Maybe, but trust is built on respect, and respect includes understanding what's sacred to someone. You turned something deeply personal to me into a joke. Tears threatened again, but I blinked them back. I know, and I will regret that for the rest of my life. But Jake, one mistake shouldn't define our entire relationship. We've had 3 amazing years together. I'm not saying it does, he said carefully, but it has made me question things. I need more time, Ava. My heart sank. More time apart? He nodded. I'm going to stay with Marcus a while longer. I need to be sure about what I want. And what about what I want? I asked, a flash of anger breaking through my remorse. Don't I get any say in this? You had your say on New Year's Eve, he replied, his voice hardening slightly. Now I need mine. I recoiled as if slapped. That's not fair. Maybe not, he conceded. But it's where I am right now. We finished our coffee in silence. When we parted outside the cafe, his hug was brief and formal, nothing like the enveloping embraces I was used to. I'll be in touch, he said, and walked away. The following weeks were a lesson in patience and introspection. Jake and I texted occasionally, mostly practical matters about bills or mail. I threw myself into work, started therapy, and spent a lot of time examining why I'd thought the prank was a good idea to begin with. My therapist helped me see that I had a pattern of creating drama when I felt insecure in relationships, a defense mechanism to test whether people would stay even when things got difficult. It wasn't flattering to recognize this about myself, but it was necessary. 1 month after New Year's Eve, Jake texted me asking if we could talk. My heart raced as I replied with a simple, yes. We met at our home the first time he'd been back since collecting some clothes. I'd cleaned meticulously, arranged flowers, considered, and discarded the idea of cooking his favorite meal as too manipulative. He arrived looking better than he had at the cafe, rested, calmer. We sat in the living room, the space between us on the couch, a physical representation of our emotional distance. I've missed this place, he said, glancing around. Missed you too. Hope fluttered in my chest. I've missed you more than I can say. He took a deep breath. I've been doing a lot of thinking, talking to friends, even saw a counselor a couple of times. This surprised me. Jake had always been resistant to therapy. That's great, Jake. It helped, he admitted. Made me see some things about myself, about us, about how we communicate or don't. I nodded. I've been seeing someone too, learning a lot about why I did what I did. And, he prompted, and I realize I have this fear of being abandoned. When you were distant with work, I felt it like rejection. Even though logically I knew it wasn't about me. The prank was a messed up way of testing your commitment, of creating a crisis to see if you'd still want me afterwards. I swallowed hard. It's not healthy, and I'm working on it. Jake absorbed this, nodding slowly. Thank you for being honest about that. It helps me understand. Does it help enough for you to consider coming home? I asked, unable to contain the question any longer. He looked at me directly, his gaze softer than it had been in weeks. I want to, Ava, but I need things to be different. Different how? I need you to promise you'll talk to me when you're feeling insecure, not test me. And I need to promise I won't get so wrapped up in work that you feel invisible. He paused, and we both need to be more careful with each other's hearts. Tears of relief spilled down my cheeks. I can do that. I will do that. It won't be easy, he cautioned. Trust takes time to rebuild. I know, I wiped at my tears. But I love you, Jake. I love you enough to do the work. He reached across the space between us, taking my hand. I love you too. Enough to come back and try. That night, Jake brought his bags home. We were tentative with each other, careful in a way we'd never been before. But as we lay in bed, his arm around me for the first time in over a month, I felt something settling inside me, a determination to make this second chance count. Spring arrived, melting away the last remnants of that difficult winter. Jake and I had established new patterns, weekly check-ins about how we were feeling, therapy, individual and couples, and a renewed commitment to honesty, even when it was uncomfortable. On a warm Saturday in April, Jake suggested we take the Charger out for its first drive of the season. I hesitated, uncertain if this was some kind of test. Are you sure? I asked. You don't have to include me in that if you're not ready. He smiled, the easy, open smile I'd fallen in love with years ago. I'm sure. Come on. We drove along the coast with the windows down, the powerful engine rumbling beneath us. Jake reached over and took my hand. I've been thinking, he said, eyes on the road, about New Year's Eve. My stomach tightened. We'd talked about the incident extensively in therapy, but rarely brought it up outside those sessions. What about it? I asked cautiously. I think we should reclaim it, he said. Make new memories to replace the bad ones. How do you mean? He pulled over at a scenic overlook and turned to face me. Next New Year's Eve, let's throw a party. Something epic. No pranks. He gave me a look that was half stern, half teasing, but something to celebrate, making it through a tough time. I squeezed his hand, overwhelmed with gratitude for this man who had chosen to forgive me, to work through the hurt rather than walk away. I'd like that, I said. A fresh start. He leaned over and kissed me, and I felt the last piece of tension between us dissolve. We had survived my catastrophic prank and somehow emerged stronger, more honest, more deliberate with each other. As we drove home, I reflected on the painful lesson I'd learned, that love isn't about grand gestures or dramatic moments. It's about the quiet understanding that forms when two people choose each other, day after day, even after making mistakes. Especially after making mistakes. The car's engine hummed beneath us, solid and restored much like our relationship. Different now, perhaps, with new parts and careful attention to what had once been broken, but ultimately stronger for having been repaired.